Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have our second jumping lesson, and we are doing it with a Cavalari today. So the goal of today is to basically get Hazel to pick up the jump at the right place, as well as for me to practice my 2-point. I still have a little bit of weaknesses when it comes to the 2-point. I really am really weak. I realize in my legs, my calves. So I really have to build that up, as well as the posture too for jumping, where you really have to use your abdominal muscle and your back muscle to carry yourself forward. So what we've realized with Hazel is that she really actually enjoys jumping. She does not second guess the jump. She just goes for it. She just jumps over it and then bring you right to the other side, which is kind of a great thing, just because I don't have to really worry too much. Is she gonna make the jump? Is she gonna refuse it? She goes 100% for it, and that's great to see that she's so eager to go forward. So the point is as well, as soon as she takes the jump and decides to canter, we're just letting her canter away and just trying to optimize the time that we spend cantering to kind of collect her at the same time, and just work a little bit on that canter. But so far it's coming along actually a little bit faster that way. It seems Hazel is really happy when there's not too much seat from my part, so like that she's really happy with just leg aid and of course the hands, but we notice a huge difference now that I'm not sitting in a saddle on the way her canter is actually coming along. So here we're going on multiple times trying to get through to the other side, but every time she lands on the wrong lead, so it's just a little bit harder for us to make the turn. I'm still trying to keep it as long as possible, just to get her to, you know, acknowledge that it is okay for her to canter when she takes a jump. It's just that we have to make sure that it's the proper lead. So as soon as I realize it's the wrong lead, we just I just collect her back into her trot and try it again. One of the other things that I tend to do is just not going all the way straight forward. So I really have to, once the jump is taken, go as far as I can forward in a straight line before I take a turn. So by doing that, by actually going straight forward, what it does is it just helps Hazel do a lead change or realize that she's on the wrong canter lead. So that's what my coach is explaining to me here, is that actually we went straight and Hazel realized it was the wrong lead. She herself changed the lead and then we were able to go around for the rest of the canter. So that's a great tool to teach your horse to just kind of do the auto lead changes, which is really helpful on the course when you're actually showing or doing anything of that sort, just for the horse to figure out which one is the best canter lead to lead you to the next jump. So you see me here stretching. You'll see me stretch quite a bit. I must say sometimes I do have like little muscle cramps coming and going. It's just because it's a change of posture for me. The stirrups are brought a little higher, so your leg is actually bent a little more, and it's just a lot of muscle that you need to activate every time you have to do a sitting trot. And so when we do it for a long time, that's when I get usually the cramps. They're like really mild, nothing severe, but over time you can't really always ignore it and just carry forward. Sometimes you just have to stretch it, and then it feels a bit better. So obviously here after the jump we had a nice, the proper canter lead, so we tried to keep that canter as long as possible before we actually asked her to trot, and that was actually a beautiful downward transition. It was really smooth, and we also had a really long canter, which was pretty amazing because we've always done just little circles at the 20 meter circles, which, you know, ask a bit of stamina. But now when we're asking her to go straight, go long, and turn around, it's just asking her a little bit more, and we can see that it works really good when I'm actually not sitting too deep in the saddle. So we're gonna do the other side here. This side for me was a little harder to get her centered to the middle of the cavallari, but other than that she did pretty good. On her first try we didn't land on the proper lead, but you'll see on the second one we were really successful, and we were able to carry the canter forward, which is actually pretty great. That's what we were looking for. We're really looking to extend that canter time as much as possible, just so it's gonna give us some nice latitude or a little bit of space when we want to do it on the outdoors. Our outdoor arena is actually way bigger than this indoor one, and so if we decide to canter on a long straight line, we need a little bit more stamina to be able to do the whole outdoor. So here we went from the wrong lead to the proper lead. So I did the lead change here. I waited for her to have the proper lead, and then we went around and cantered. As you can see here, a canter is actually pretty beautiful. And we can see really how me not sitting deep in the saddle really helps her to kind of carry herself forward. She obviously seems to really like it better. What I've realized after watching a couple segments of my dressage course for the actual cantering, I think that I don't have the proper seat when I actually ask her to canter. So eventually I'll work on that, just because I feel like maybe I'm bumping into her a little bit too much or too hard, and she's not liking it. She's tensing herself, and her canter gets really rushed. So I'm gonna have to look into that next. But so far, as you can see in this saddle, it doesn't seem to be an issue at all. She doesn't rush into it, and she stays pretty balanced the whole time. So while Hazel and I are taking a little break here, my coach is actually going to raise the bar a little bit, so that will actually help Hazel figure out that it's actually a jump, even though it's not really high. It just helps to kind of get her to engage herself into a jumping motion rather than just a trotting over motion. Cavalettes are not meant to be really high, although Hazel always thinks that they're actual jumps, so she will jump over it. Doesn't matter what height it is at. Ground poles are actually a little bit better to actually figure out that they're on the ground, but everything else that's more elevated, she's gonna just take it as a jump. So here I'm talking a little bit with my coach, debriefing a little bit what happened and what things I can work on. Obviously my 2-point is still a little bit off balance. Sometimes I do fall off, a little bit. And I'm just trying to find the right balance. Obviously it seems like to me like it's a little hard for now because it's been so long that I have used this saddle. So it looks like it's, really old notion for me, so I have to just get a refresher, and as well as get my muscles back in action. Like I said, my legs usually hurt during the lesson, not after, and same for my back, just because the position is different, so you have to lean a little bit more forward and your legs are kind of bent, like cranked a little bit, and that's why I have to work on that really. I'm considering actually just biking outside or doing some kind of exercise to help me just get more strength in there. But as you can see here, it's beautiful canter after the landing, and I am just trying to use my knees when the canter actually happens, so I can actually help her not sit on her back. So you'll see here that I'm doing one of my classic mistakes. I would say like that's one of my top 2 mistakes, is once the jump is taken, I turn too soon. So I really have to just work on that and just go as straight as possible. As you can see here, I turn way too soon. And what it does, it just works a lot on my horse here, which is not really helpful. So I have to figure that out, just go all the way to the end and just remember that. For me, sometimes it's just a little bit overwhelming, the lesson so far, just because I have so much things I have to work on for myself, for her, and it's just like so many things that I have to take in consideration every single time I jump. So sometimes I focus on one thing, sometimes I focus on the other. Eventually it's gonna all come together, but it's just like the first few lessons are gonna be a little bit overwhelming like that, just because I'm working for Hazel to have the proper position, and then I have to work on myself a lot more to make sure that I'm actually helping her the way I should. So you will see here that we actually took the jump with us. Her back leg actually knocked the jump over, which is not a big deal. Sometimes it does take a little bit for the horse to kind of figure out the height of the jump, and that's something that we're gonna work on. And I'm backing her up because she basically rushed into it. The thing with Hazel is she's really enthusiastic about this. She seems to really love the sport, but she just wants to just gallop and jump basically. So I have to always like hold her back so much because she's so forward. And so when you get to the jump, you have to basically release so they can actually have the motion that they need, like just the room that they need to jump. So sometimes in that case I just released it too early, and that's what happened. It's just that we took the jump like a little bit on the wrong way because she was too forward, and she was also a little bit unbalanced to begin with, and so that's how we knocked this jump over. So we're gonna just do a little bit of cantering now, just to see if she picks up the canter. It's becoming like a hell of a lot better. When we're actually going for the canter first, I'm not as apprehensive as I used to be. Like I used to really wait and then canter. So I had a lot of apprehension about it, just because it was so rocky, so unbalanced. A little bit unpleasant, I must say, at the beginning. So that's why I was always like making a huge production about going for a canter, rather than now I'm just like, when my coach is like, okay, it's time now, I just put my leg a little bit on the back and she picks up the canter. So that really helped a lot, and as you can see, the transitions are really smooth from the upward transition. Are really smooth. We have to work a little bit on our downward transition still, but it's coming along really nice. So same thing here for this exercise. The goal is to get over the jump and get her to canter at least one circle. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna be really balanced. As you can see, the trot here is barely a trot. Like it's very balanced and collected. Just so like that, I make sure that I release at the right time and we can actually have the proper canter lead and just canter from there. So it seems to be working. It's really intense the amount of energy that I have to spend just holding her, because she like I said really wants to go forward and take that jump, but it seems to pay off at the end. So we just have to kind of really help her kind of manage her emotions a little bit, because it is exciting, it's something new, she really goes all in. So it's my job as a writer to just kind of hold her back and just tell her wait for it, and then when we're ready, then she can go. So here my coach is explaining to me that we have to be a little bit better at figuring out the center of the pole there of the cavallari. It is really important that she aims for the center, not only for this but for other jumps as well, just to make sure that we have the proper procedures, because some jumps are going to be higher, some jumps are going to be lower, but as soon as you pick up the middle, that's how the jump is designed to be used. So that's a really important thing. So my coach is going to actually help me focus and get her to the center of the jump, because sometimes a few little strides before she's a little bit off, and then at the last second we make it to the middle. So I have to figure out with my eyes how I can go as straight as possible. So she's telling me here, if I use my eyes properly, it's gonna really help me kind of pick up the middle. So she says I have to really start looking for the jump like way ahead of time. So here she's helping me just figure out the straightness. So I have to turn just right before her and stay straight all the way to the jump. And as you can see, it really worked. Between my coach and the actual jump, I tried to have her really balanced, just because she tends to, like I said, rush a little bit to it. And as you can see, that's the best canter we had on that lesson. It's just so balanced, so poised, really love it. So it was worth just working towards this motion. So as you can see, she's holding it pretty well. And since she did really well, we decided to end the lesson there. So I'm just gonna slowly put her into the cooling down, and then we'll be ready to leave soon. So yeah, it was a beautiful lesson. I'm really happy with what happened during this lesson. So we had Hazel doing lead changes and learning a bit about that, and I have me working a lot harder on my 2 points, but it's actually coming along pretty nice. On my first lesson, I felt like I was like pulling on her a lot, and I felt really bad for my horse because my horse was doing everything, but I felt like I was kind of failing her in a way because my 2 point was a little bit weak. But that lesson I felt way more confident. I had a bit more muscle tone. I knew exactly kind of how to sit properly and do all of that, so that was actually a little bit easier for me. The other thing that we worked on was the canter, and the canter was pretty amazing. The last one was by far my favorite. And I'm so thrilled that we were able to achieve that. At the beginning of the lesson, Hazel was just like super thrilled, super excited. As soon as she saw the jump, she knew it was a jumping lesson, and she was really excited about that. Which was a little hard for me at the beginning to kind of hold her back a little bit and be like, hold on, we'll get to it. But for sure, after a couple jumps, you know, the energy kind of dissipate a bit. And so she's able to focus a little bit more on me, so I don't have to carry her so much or have her in my hands so much, which is kind of really nice for me. So overall, a really wonderful lesson for the second jumping lesson. I can't wait for our third lesson for the jumps and see what that brings. In the meantime, we'll definitely practice and work a lot more on our collection, try to work on our canter work, and for me to work on my 2 points. But it seems like something that's going to be really doable. So thank you guys for joining us along this new little class here that we added for cross training, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as Hazel and I did, and I'll see you guys very soon.